Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Sorry that this is a voiceover, but I really don't have the time to sit down and put my face of makeup on and film a short intro and outro because I have been working on decorating and putting 31 enclosures in the pet room right now. If you are familiar with my leopard gecko bookshelves, I am retiring them to 31 PVC enclosures, and boy oh boy has that been an absolute treat because I got sick during the process and I had to take a break, and it's taking me longer than expected, and I ran out of substrate and decor. It's been a journey, and I will talk more about it in another video because this video is about my big lizards, which include Nova and Franklin the bearded dragons, as well as Aaron's blue-tongued skink Haku. I wanted to talk about how I recently upgraded them to Zen Habitats enclosures. I will include those videos down in the links below and also somewhere on the screen throughout the video. So make sure you check those videos out because they're going to go into much more detail about the enclosures than this video will. This video is kind of like a part 2 to that, where my bearded dragons and Aaron's blue-tongued skink explore their new enclosures and eat in their new enclosures, and I can provide a nice update about how well it's going for them in the new enclosures. It's been about a month so far, so I feel like it's been enough time that I can start giving a proper update. So I'll start with the blue-tongued skink because there's only one of them, whereas there's 2 bearded dragons. And Haku is our blue-tongued skink. We've had Haku since 2017, but Haku hasn't been featured much on this channel simply because I was never satisfied with the enclosure. But because I did this one, I feel much better about the enclosure now aesthetically. She's always been in a big enclosure. It's never been an issue of her not having the space. It's just been an ugly enclosure. And the enclosures were given to a good home. Don't worry. It's not like I just threw them out or anything, but the new enclosures are just what I feel like are much prettier, and I'm just happier sharing them on my channel. So Haku, the very first day that we introduced her to the enclosure, she explored for a little bit and then she went and hid, and then we didn't see her for a solid week. And then once it had been a week that she just was underneath the substrate kicking it enjoying herself, she decided to come out and she started basking on her stone again, and she actually just really explored the enclosure more at that point in time. And ever since then, she does her normal skink thing. She spends a few days under the substrate, pops up, and she basks and explores and eats, and then she goes back under the substrate. That's something that she has always done. That is just the nature of her as a blue-tongued skink. I would say that her behavior overall has not changed too much because it was pretty normal for her in her other enclosure to hide for a few days, then come out, eat, bask, do her thing, and then go back to hiding. However, I will say that I have seen her climb more in this enclosure. So in her other one, it was just as tall, but it was more narrow. So perhaps it being wider, and it was 2 feet in this new enclosure, and her old one was maybe 1.5 feet. So instead of it being maybe just 6 inches wider, and that makes her want to explore more. I'm not sure entirely, but I have literally seen her standing upright on her 2 tiny back legs, just looking straight up to the sky as if she could see it on numerous occasions. And it could be just because she's exploring a new enclosure, but even now, a month out, she still does that when she comes out to explore, and I really enjoy that. So now let's move on to the bearded dragons. So I have 2 bearded dragons, Franklin and Nova. Franklin is on screen right now, and Nova is the all-white one. She is a zero morph, for anyone wondering. Both of my bearded dragons, by the way, are from situations of rehoming, and that's just what I do on this channel. So if you're looking for a zero bearded dragon, or even one that looks like Franklin, I really do recommend situations of rehoming, but that's just my personal preference. Anyways, this is Nova. So their behaviors have been quite different from their other enclosure in this one. Franklin, I would say, has had the least amount of change, but he still has had change. We'll talk about Nova first. Nova has been incredibly more active and interactive with her enclosure. She moves around a lot more. She's eating more. I'm not sure if it's because she was just having a little mini brumation in her other enclosure or what, but the moment she got in this enclosure, the first day, she was just chill, and then from day 2 on, she was just absolutely nuts. I have literally seen her jump from the top of her wood in the back all the way to the front of the enclosure, leap as if she was a crested gecko. I've seen her run back and forth along the doors. I've seen her dig. I mean, she's just very, very active, and it's good for me to see it. And it's not active too much to the point where it's something's wrong. It's a healthy amount of activity, and it's really good to see that from her, because in her other enclosure she just seemed a bit more sluggish in comparison. on. And then with Franklin, he has been more active in the way that like he's dug and he like basks more, but in his other one his enclosure was like a foot longer, so he might have just did runs back and forth more. The enclosures are the exact same size as their old ones. It's just that the older enclosures were more narrow and these ones are more wide, and the older enclosures were longer and these ones are a foot shorter. So they have the exact same amount of floor space, it's just spread out differently. So Franklin has been more active, but it's been in ways that like are smaller, such as like digging. And I didn't actually anticipate he would dig, because at first he totally didn't. If you actually watch the video where I talk about their enclosures, there's like a little clip I had to insert where Franklin actually started digging, because previous to that he hadn't, and I had already said like, oh, Franklin hasn't been digging in the video, so I had to of course fix that, because he definitely has been digging a bit. But Nova has definitely dug, and this is something I anticipated from her because she's a female, so I figured if anyone's gonna dig, it's probably gonna be Nova. So overall, I have seen really great behaviors in Nova and Haku especially. Franklin is an older bearded dragon, so I didn't really anticipate his behavior would change that much. Franklin will be turning 7 in April, so he's kind of an older guy. So if you see anything kind of off about him, just keep in mind he is old. Oh, and I also get this question all the time. Why are his eyes so big? I don't know. People have told me that it's a genetic thing. His eyes have been fine otherwise, but they've been like this his whole life, so that's the only answer I can give you. I have cared for Nova and Franklin the exact same way, and just one of them happens to have bug eyes and the other one doesn't. I don't know what it is. I've just been told genetics, so that's what I say. So now I want to make an update about using the Zen Habitats enclosures, because this is my first time ever using them. So I figured if I'm giving an update about the bearded dragons and the blue-tongued skink as like their activity levels and their eating and their behaviors, I figured I'll also talk about any updates I have about how using the enclosures has gone. So I actually posted a Zen Habitats review, well, 2 of them technically, but it's the same clip in both videos. So if you've seen one, you've seen them both. But one in the blue-tongued skink video and one in the bearded dragon video. So if you have not seen those, again, I will leave them in the links below or somewhere throughout this video on the screen. But I just wanted to say that I am thoroughly enjoying the Zen Habitats enclosures. I have only ran into one issue that I think that I would like to talk about, and it's not really an issue whatsoever. It's more of like a helpful tip. The acrylic doors will scratch. That's just the nature of acrylic. But if you want to prevent as much scratching as possible, even if you're not using substrate, I recommend putting the substrate barrier in. That was something I had thought about from the get-go, because I knew that like acrylic scratches. I've had acrylic doors before with my leopard geckos, and I've had acrylium, oh my gosh, I've had acrylic aquariums. Oh, that's great, I'm leaving that in. So I've had aquariums that are made of acrylic, and they scratch as well, like from substrate or rocks on the bottom. So it's just a nature of acrylic, unfortunately. I think that Zen Habitats offers glass doors if you choose to buy those instead, but if you just get the standard enclosures, you'll get acrylic doors. And if you want to prevent as much scratching as possible, I really do recommend putting that substrate barrier in at the bottom, even if you don't have substrate, because it will prevent your bearded dragons from like getting onto the doors at the bottom and scratching them. So whether or not you do that, the enclosures are still going to work perfectly. It's just they might not be as visually appealing to you if the doors are scratched. I personally don't care. Are the doors secure? Yes. Are the doors clear? Yes. Are the doors front opening? Yes. Perfect. That's all I care about. I had to use the substrate guards because I have a little bit of substrate in the front. But overall, it's just something I recommend doing if you have it. I haven't had any issues with maintaining temperatures. I haven't had any issues with humidity, except when I moisten the substrate, obviously the humidity is going to go up, so that's something to keep in mind. But in general, their humidity is fine. So I've had a really easy time with them, fortunately. Go figure, I had such an easy time, and so of course I'll have a hard time with my leopard gecko enclosures, which we are not going to talk about because that is for another video and another time. But yeah, these enclosures have just gone really well, and I'd honestly really love to get more, especially when I move into a larger place and I have room for more enclosures. But I think they're great. I love the little cabinets beneath. I've been able to keep all their little supplies down there for like cleaning, like when it comes to bath time. They have a little toothbrush that like I brush their scales with when they get poop on their scales. Looking at you, Franklin. So whenever they do that, then I have a little toothbrush and a store underneath there. It's just nice to have storage for extra supplies and stuff, so I really enjoy that aspect of the layout as well. But yeah, I think that I would really recommend these enclosures if you haven't gotten one already. Look, there's the skink doing the climbing thing I was talking about. Love that. But I have an affiliate link down below. If you've made it this far in the video, I'd be surprised. But I have an affiliate link down below. It allows me to have a small commission of whatever you might buy through that link, and I really would appreciate your support if you do decide to go with Zen Habitats and use my link. I appreciate you, and I thank you in advance. But yeah, just be sure that if you do click that link down below, you are aware that it is an affiliate link. But I think that's all I have to say. Overall, very positive remarks. I'm really happy with the way that the enclosures turned out. I'm happy with the Zen Habitats enclosures in general. I'm happy with the lighting as well. The lighting that I chose to go with were an Arcadia halogen and our Arcadia T5HO bulb. I talked about those more at length in the individual videos like I referenced earlier. So if you're interested in that, make sure you go check them out. Again, links below. But I'm just really overall thrilled with how everything has gone so far and how everything has turned out and the behaviors that my animals have exhibited in these enclosures with their new enclosures, with their new UVB, and with the substrate that they were given. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know down below. I will be sure to get back to you. I'm going to play the rest of this video with some little jazzy musics, and you can enjoy them exploring and eating and all that good stuff. Take care, everyone. Bye.